How's it going, guys? So today I'm showing you how to make a track like Dusky's Double Bubble. They recently released a garage album and it absolutely slaps. There's definitely about 4 really good tracks in there. This is what the remake sounds like. There's also a second version which sounds like this. Great, so yeah, I've made 2 sort of different basses, but both I think fit, and I'm sure you'll learn a fair bit from how they're made. If you want some amazing Serum presets or drum packs, then go to my website, the link's in the bio. You can also download this project from my Patreon, the link for that is also below. Let's get on with it. So firstly, we're going to start with the drums. They sound like this. These drums are from my UK Garage pack, which I just spoke about. But if you have a look at them, so this is the MIDI for the kick. So there's quite a lot going on here. But the main takeaway from it is the hat. So when it first drops, it's just bass and there's no hat apart from this sort of hat here. You can also use like an open hat. But yeah, then it comes in at sort of after the first beat and a half, which is quite peculiar, but it really helps to sort of make it a bit more edgy and like, you know, underground. So yeah, it's a pretty cool idea that, which I've not really seen on many tracks. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend trying that out on some of your own tracks. We then move on to the first bass, so it sounds like this. So yeah, it's really dark and sort of underground sound. Let's open it up. Got Serum. Well, I started with this bass heavy D preset, and I think I might have changed it a bit. On oscillator A, we've got this digital FFT add seconds, and if I lower this, it's basically just a sine wave. But what you do is you turn it up. The more you turn it up, the more gritty and sort of electronic-y it's going to get. So I went to about here, but you can also change it to your liking. Great, so once you've done that, we move into the sub. So we've got this sort of sine wave, which is really helping to add the bass. You can hear it. Without headphones you probably can't, but with it, it's like a really solid sine wave that's going through. And as it's on direct out, it's not being affected by the filter, so it just plays through and it sounds really nice and thick. If we then go to envelope 1, this is the amplitude envelope, and as you can hear, the volume's started getting louder. So yeah, just bring up the attack. So yeah, that means the bass sort of fades in rather than just straight away. So if we put it down like this, it doesn't sound as good, and this sounds like it has more of a dramatic effect. We've then got this LFO2, which is doing most of the work. So this is dragged onto level 1 of oscillator A and also the level of the sub slightly, but it's not really doing much. It was on oscillator B, but that's been turned off, and it's also on the filter. If I take that off the filter, you'll listen. So there's not as much movement, whereas if you put it back on, so it's subtle, but it definitely is there. Great, so yeah, the main takeaway from LFO2 is that it's controlling the level. So if I remove that, just put it here, so let's pretend it's not really on. See, it's not really jumping at all, and there's no movement. So what this is doing is causing the movement. If I wanted to then change the rate, so yeah, sounds good on 1/8. So you want to make sure you've got the trigger, the BPM and the ANCH, the anchor. Yeah, I'd also put it in mono. Great, so in terms of effects, we've got this distortion. So yeah, it's just adding a bit more grip. You can obviously change that to a different, but I'm going to keep it on soft clip, just adds a little bit of extra warmth. We've then got this compressor, so that's boosted up a bit. We've also got this reverb, which is being controlled by this macro. So without it, all the way up, way too much. Great, and then we've got this hyper, which is being controlled by this width. So without it, it's not as wide. So it helps, yeah, fill in the sort of wider frequency, so the stereo filled. And that's what we've got in terms of effects. Yeah, so that's the first bass. Obviously, if you want to download more basses like that, you can get my Serum preset pack. The next bass is very similar, so it sounds like this. And this is a lot more similar to what the actual track is. So I started with the bass Naji preset, and then I've changed it a little bit since then. Just because I didn't think the waveforms were right. So yeah, in terms of all of this, it's really similar, apart from so it's exactly the same as the other one, essentially, but it's got two oscillators. So that's it, just with one. But again, the main sound is coming from this LFO, controlling the volumes of each of the oscillators. So I then just stacked it up with that, so the B2 acid waveform. So I'm basically just stacking waveforms to make it sound a bit more dirty. I've also got that FM in from B, so it just helps add a bit of FM, which essentially sort of distorts and manipulates the sound. So it sounds a bit more, I don't know what the word would be, a bit more like gritty and sort of unnatural. Yeah, so that is that. All the effects are still the same. As long as you've got the setup like this with the LFO, you can really fuck around. I definitely recommend having a sine wave as the sub and directing it out, just so it really fills up the lower frequencies. But yeah, you can just play around with all the different waveforms. And then you can maybe add a second one, pitch it up. You know, you just got to play around until you find something you like, especially with like the darker UK garage music. Yeah, it's just sort of playing around, adding lots of effects. So I could like change this to 6, and I could maybe change this one to, I don't know, Asium. So yeah, it's just playing around to find what you like. When it comes to the darker music, there's not really any written rules. It's just, yeah, be experimental. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's quite simple. There's this little bass here, which is a bit basic, so you don't really need that. But yeah, that's just a basic warper. So it's just a square wave that's warping up. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Thanks.